So the one thing too I think about tattoos is, how coverable are they, for lack of a better term?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that back up because I wanted to ask you. You said you would do it a weekend when you didn't have to work.
Right.
So how would that, change your work? Would you have to wear long sleeves? Like, are they frowned upon, or would it be cool?
That's never been discussed. I work at a community college. It's never been discussed or even referenced because we have people that work there, I think, with tattoos.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure we do.
I mean, even if you haven't seen them, I would bet that there's somebody there that's got a tattoo somewhere.
But it's never been discussed. I think it's more of like people worry about it in terms of a perception thing, like how you're going to be perceived.
Sure.
I think the students would not care in the slightest. They'd be like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? They'd be like, oh, that's cool. You have that. But I think maybe when you're working with other colleagues, other professionals, especially older ones that might not, like tattoos so much, that's when you run the risk a little bit of being judged a way you might not want to, because tattoos still have a little bit of that social stigma.
Yeah, I think it's a generational thing, man. I think the older we get / the more new people come into the world,
right.
The more people they'll have seen with tattoos. Whereas I think us growing up, if anybody had a tattoo, I feel like it was somebody that was like in the army and they've got the classic like mom on their arm, you know what I mean? Like it was very small pieces. It wasn't nearly as intricate and detailed as we get tattoos today.
Yeah.
We've got TV shows about the best tattoo artists. I can't think of the actual name for that right now.
Oh,
Ink Master.
Yeah, there it is.
Ink Master. Great TV show, man. It keep you entertained for a while.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like that stuff is beautiful. That's crazy. And like, I remember like as a kid, if I saw a tattoo, one, it was very rare. I wasn't used to seeing it. But it was typically very simple stuff where nowadays, like you can get extremely well done pieces. And kids that are, 10 now, I feel like they're seeing that way more often. So by the time they're our age, it's going to be even less and less of like that stigma around it. I think it's just going to be like a regular thing.
I think when we're in the hiring positions, like the positions where we're the managers and we're hiring, people for work, we're going to see a tattoo and be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only one, and there's a caveat to that.
I think I know what's coming.
Tattoos.
Yep.
Okay. Why is it? I don't know. I think there's just something about the way we as people interpret face tattoos.
Sure.
It's viewed as a negative. It's viewed as like a character thing. Not sure why. Unless you're a professional artist or a basketball player or an athlete in general, right? Mm-hmm. Or a skateboarder or something like that, where you're in a very
there's
niche
certain professions that let it slide and it's like cool, no big deal.
Looks great, like Post Malone. Looks cool, right?
Yeah.
But if Post Malone weren't a rapper and he were just working,
he was your accountant,
right? You'd be like, right? You kind of be like, oh, you know what I mean? I think that he might be a great accountant, but he might also, I think the interpretation of him, the judgment of him, just on a book by its cover. Which happens. I mean, it happens. So it would be like, oh, I don't know if I want him as my accountant.
Dude, that made me think of something that I've thought about many, many times, and it's like just a cool thought that I have.
Yeah.
I used to be willing to do a lot more things with my facial hair. Like I know mustaches are like frowned upon, but I would rock a mustache. I don't really care. I would do like long sideburns, just do whatever to make things crazy. And the way I always thought about it was, it doesn't change the way that I look at the world at all, but it does change the way that the world looks at me.
That's some deep stuff.
Yeah, dude. And I always thought it was cool because you can really it almost gives you like a different perspective on things because people will treat you differently based off of your appearance. I mean, it's kind of screwed
100%,
up,
100%.
But it happens. And you can be the same person. I can be me looking like I do right now. And I could literally just shave my facial hair differently or shave my head or, have long hair, short hair. And people will interact with you differently. And it's really funny. I haven't changed at all, but the way that people are acting towards me has.
Yeah. And it's the same, it's just with appearance. People judge you by appearance, and it's a sad reality, but I think also one that we have to accept because it just is, whether we like it or not. I mean, we all do it. You and I do it. I mean, like everyone does it. So
yeah,
it's just, I think it's just nature. I mean, like what you see, it's like, okay, what I see, I'm assessing that person. Are they a threat? Are they this? You know what I mean? It's like a nature thing. So it's like,
with having no, like scientific degree to back this up, I do think that it is, we get, I don't want to say scared, but you get frightened. You use a great word for it. By things that we're not used to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The things that you've grown up with, that you're familiar with, that stuff is comfortable.
Right.
So you're more likely to be like, oh yeah, that's fine. For example, we'll go back to this tattoo thing. If you've grown up and your parents had tattoos your entire life, you're probably like, oh yeah, that's chill, no big deal.
Right.
But if you grew up and your parents or people around you didn't, then getting a tattoo is probably way bigger of a deal. So when you see people that have, I didn't grow up with anybody in my family that had a face tattoo. So if I saw somebody with a face tattoo, I'm like, whoa, that's extremely different from what I'm used to or what I've been, thought of as acceptable up to this
Right.
point. So it does make it like harder to digest, I'll say.
Right. And I think honestly, if I showed up with a tattoo, my family, my parents especially, would not be thrilled. So they would probably be pretty upset. So that's where it's always a tricky line.